A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the NSSF Financial Literacy Program, Financial Parenting Father's Day Edition. The mothers had their due last month or a month ago, and today we decided let's have our due as the fathers ahead of Sunday. Thank you for joining us for joining NSSF. Today, each time you see Mr. Headmaster here, we are going to get into 2 hours of class. Finances are something that does not get taught in schools. And as adults who have committed to joining us, my name is Apollo Mbowa. This is the Father's Day. Give us a little snapshot of what is going on and how to keep ourselves by Health Minute.
African cultures, usually we tell people that men tend to be the leader. But when it comes to COVID, I'd like you to remember this. Avoid men and follow women. Avoid men and follow what? Women. What is men? M is for mouth, E for eyes, N for nose. The COVID virus comes in through men, M-E-N, mouth, eyes, and nose. So avoid men. Instead, follow women. I know it's counterculture, but guess what? W, washing your hands. O, obey social distancing. E, ensure that you mask up. E, exercise and eat well. And N, no unnecessary traveling. So, avoid men and follow who? Women, and you're safe from COVID.
Thank you so much. Dr. Paul is the NSSF Campaign Health Advisor. Thank you so much for that, for those tips, and I hope our members you are following. Let's avoid the men and follow the women. Allow me to also invite Michael. And this is, I'm doing this at the beginning so that we understand, because this was a question that came up. Michael brought in some boxes. I got to acquire myself one. If you are able to see, he brought in some saving boxes. When we said we are going into action, I acquired myself a box for my children. So Michael, in 1 minute, just tell people where to find you and where they can get this so that they act.
Good afternoon. I'm okay. Amos. Yeah. My name is Kisa Michael. Thank you so much, Mr. Mbowa. And the item I have is a rendition of the Jewish jazz concept. We are told that when the Jews are young, 3 years, 4 years, their parent gives them 5 jars. 1 for tithing, 1 for giving, 1 for saving, 1 for investing, and 1 for spending. And the division of the money should be 10%, 10%, 10% for giving, tithing, and saving, and then 20% for investing, and 50% for spending. So I tried to formulate the jars, but the customer always knows what is best. They told me that it's best to put it in 1 unit if it's to be sensible, because the children run amok with jars. So we put it together in 1 unit where we have a depositing jar. Mr. Wekesa, if you give your son $100, you put it in the deposit. Then on Saturday, you start dividing the money. The $100, tithing, 10 will go to the church or the mosque or whichever place. $10 will go to giving. That's for giving a needy person. $10 will go for saving. That's for a special cause in the home. Investing 20%. You can teach them to rear chicken by buying chicken from $50. They can start their business there. And they can spend $50, 50%. So that gives the child a mindset of how to utilize money. what I can say that it tightens the brain. I myself find it hard keeping to this structure. So my number is 0782 711 418. 0782 711 418, and you can order yours. This one will go to Gabby. Gabby is a young girl who's, I think she's becoming 4 next month, July. The owner hasn't picked it yet, but we can also customize it at a cost, Mr. Wekesa. Thank you. And before I leave, there's a book that comes with this as well. It has the instructions as well as a basic accounting place where you can keep records. So in addition to learning the concept, you learn how to do some basic bookkeeping. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. You've all heard. At NSSF, we say action changes things. So when you act, things change in your life. Allow me to start formally our program for today. Today is Father's Day edition, and I always want to give it perspective. If the media team is kind enough to share my slides. We want us to get what is this day about, how do we as men relate to it. And it has always been our sing-song, we call it our sing-song, of how Uganda has 42 million Ugandans. NSSF has 1.3 million of them. Those are the people who have a balance with NSSF. I'll ask the media team if they are kind enough to share those slides. Media. And as fathers, we want to get into this discussion and understand how do we relate to the finances of the country, because you all arrived. The world out there is looking at you that you have arrived. I'm just waiting on the media to share the slides if they are kind enough as we get on. Media, as they get ready, let me just give you some. In the room here, our panelists have already arrived. They are social distancing. They are avoiding the men. They are obeying the women. They are, as you see them there, and we have a surprise panelist, and we'll get on. So if they're kind enough to go to the next slide. At NSSF, we always sing this song for you, and we want to put it in your head, and probably you will keep asking, why do you always give us the same figures? But we want it to be embroidered in your head. Please go to the next slide. We at NSSF, these are the numbers we are seeing, and this is the bigger picture. Of the 11% of the labor force, only 11% has a social security savings. If you are in the labor force, if you are 16 years and above, but only 11% have someone looking at their social security. That is what we are seeing. At NSSF, we again see another number. Only 7% of our members have above 50 million. Now, this is not to worry anyone. Some of you could be young and maybe you, by default you can't have above 50 million. But what worries us is that NSSF balance is usually the biggest balance in any person's life. And that worries us. Because at NSSF, and these questions, when it comes to NSSF questions, you will ask the people. I'm not paid high enough to answer some of these questions, but 50 billion leaves NSSF every month and goes into the public. And in this room, we've been asking ourselves, and they've been tasking some of the staff at NSSF to show where that 50 billion is. Where we are, we're looking at a skyline, a view, and we are not seeing any buildings coming up because people were paid their NSSF. That worries us. 56% of you, when you get paid, you go to a household member or relative and you ask them, what do I do with my money? And most of them mislead you. That is why we are seeing only 5% of our members. And this is both our members and from the public sector. In retirement, only 5% are able to maintain their level. Most of you will drop in level and you'll be encouraged to go back to the village. However, what we need to note that most of you, the village has actually turned. What was village right now, they are cities. Amos can no longer go back to Mbale as a village. It is now Mbale city. So most of us are going into a very deplorable lifestyle. If you are kind enough to go on, I need to leave this stage for the experts. They are now full in the room. Please go on. I just want to give you a picture of where do we stand as fathers, as NSSF. Of course, out of our 42 million, please go ahead, just flash those numbers so that we go away out of this place before the presidential speech is read. At NSSF, we have 1.3 million members, and please go ahead. And those account for 48% of those are active members. I've already shared some of those numbers. Please just go on until the last bit. I want to reach the bit. So, of the 1.3 million members, 67% are males. 67% are males, 32% are females. That is, those are the figures we have at NSSF. Please go on. Because it's Father's Day, if you are kind enough to go to the next number, please. The media person. We have 345,000 fathers at NSSF, at least the ones who have updated their records. And they have claimed that their DNA has come back and they are sure they are fathers. We have 345,000 of those. And they have about 905,000 children in their responsibility. Now, I need you to understand from 43 million people, only 905,000 children have a father who has someone looking at their retirement. And of course, the mothers, we have about 190,000 mothers who have, please go, who have about 425,000 children. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to bring back this to perspective. Out of 42 million Ugandans, those are the numbers that people are looking at and they're saying, these ones, Batwuka. However, the question will go to the panel, have they really arrived? So what are we doing as NSSF? We have come up with this program, please go on, and our objective is threefold. One, of the statistics I've been showing, some of them are deplorable, and we want to reverse those statistics. Number two, we want to build a financially empowered membership. We want to have a membership where people can discuss money and discuss money comfortably. Why? Because they have some of it. And number three, as a member of NSSF and a citizen of Uganda, you may not be a member, but a citizen of Uganda, you need to have options outside mandatory options. So, by law, you cannot do anything else with NSSF. Even if you want to bring up to 30% of your money, the law won't allow you. However, as NSSF, we are saying, if you have 15% at NSSF, can you have a 10% elsewhere? Can we have a discussion where you are saying, I have my 10 million at NSSF and I had my 5 million elsewhere, but my 5 million is outperforming NSSF. And then you put the management at task. How can my 5 million outperform you? Those are things we need to understand. I would want to confirm if we have, our volume is okay. Kindly text and tell us that we are doing okay with the volume. I have a message here saying that the volume is not doing well. Thank you so much. As I finish up, kindly, the next slide, as I go away. So as NSSF, we are committed to this role and we want to be of purpose to our member. Our final slide, please. So this initiative will go through whether you are a child of 7 years or whether you're a judge of 90 years. We want to discuss money, and we are committed to having this discussion come to your sitting room every month. Every month we shall take off 2 hours just to discuss money. And finally, let me send my call. We were asked to call out some of these persons. Please, if you are kind enough to share that slide, I just need to confirm that we are getting good volume. Please share the last slide. We are calling out to all the fathers. Please go ahead. Just run through this because the experts are already here and we need to hear from them. I don't want to take so much of the time. All these programs are available from NSSF to the public. These programs are there to discuss money. We don't discuss anything else. We discuss money. We discuss your money. We don't even discuss your NSSF money. That is for Biarugaba and all the rest. But when it is FL, we shall discuss what you have in your pocket. And finally, let us call up on all the fathers as we are ahead of Father's Day. Please go ahead. Please, the last slide. Let us call out on all the fathers. That father who reminds the children. Every time the children ask them for something, they remind them they have to be reminded of their own children. Let's call out to those fathers and we say, Happy Father's Day. To a father who has to validate his success basing on the father's benchmark. You are looking at your father and you're saying, my father didn't have a car, I have a car, so I have arrived. We call you out and say, Happy Father's Day. For a father who has embraced child spacing, but only embraced it geographically. So you have one in Kamuli, one in Soroti, another one in Kampala. We call you out and we say, Happy Father's Day. For a father whose most dreaded conversation is a request for Kameza. Every time you ask for Kameza, you are quarreling and reminding this woman how she's not a very well-behaved woman. She keeps asking about these things. We call you out and say, how are you? Happy Father's Day. To a father who is still examining and what luck each child has brought. You are looking at your child and you're saying, yeah, I've had this child, but no luck came with this child. Or maybe let me have another one. This is the one that will make me wealthy. Yes, we call you out and we say, Happy Father's Day. There is that seasonal father. He takes a front row for all functions, but is absent when it comes to school fees and all the other basics. But on graduation, I am the father. I am the father. Yes, Happy Father's Day. We remember you. There is a father who is convinced they did their best. The best thing they did was picking the mother. So after they picked the mother, they assume everything is taken care of. So you send the children to their mothers. Please go to your mother. There's a father out there who is crying for a financial miracle. Can I have a DNA test that gives away this child to the neighbor? That father, we say, thank you and Happy Father's Day. Ladies and gentlemen, if we are kind enough to go to the last slide, at NSSF, we want to remind you that action changes things. We cannot change this world without acting. Let's act and we shall have things change. Today is not my day. It's a day for the fathers and experts on the experts we are bringing you. I just want to give you a disclaimer. They are not experts in finance, and they are not the best fathers out there, but they are people who have lived and have something to share. And maybe we shall pick something from them. Every person's journey is unique. When someone shares with you their journey, don't try to replicate it, but just pick a lesson. Allow me to call our keynote speaker. He's a father of 2 girls. To many, he's known as the man who is refusing things to happen for them. They blame him for their misery and their so many things. But today he's not here to talk about any of that. He's here to talk about his childhood and how his experience as a father. Allow me to call Richard Patrick Biarugawa to address us. Welcome, Richard.
So, Apollo, you want to declare me enemy number 1 by saying publicly that I have prevented people from doing their things. As you probably know, I don't represent any constituency in Parliament. I am not an honorable minister. I am an ordinary civil servant who's been running with the NSSF for a couple of years. If you've been following what has been happening at the NSSF, you will have realized that we've made so much progress in trying to drive not only people, but we've also ensured that they now begin to have alternatives to not only saving at NSSF, but also saving in their lives. I'm trying to elongate my talk because I am waiting for my presentation to go up. Because I like pictures. So how can it take so long to put up a presentation that is PowerPoint. Okay, that's better. Can I also get my pointer so that I am in charge of my life? I saw Apollo struggling with that. So when it is ready, just let me know. In the meantime, as we await for my pointer to work, is it working? Is it working? It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. Or it's working? It is working. All right. So today is about a story. My story. Richard Biarugaba's story. And I want to tell it with a few pictures. So, first slide, the two Williams sisters and their father called Richard Williams. I'm sure you all recognize faces. They are arguably the best or the greatest tennis players in the world of all time. I can say that without fear of recrimination, but I'm sure if you do the Google search and you ask for a sporting family in tennis and ladies, I'm sure they would be the best. They have dominated the tennis world for decades. Up to today, one of them still does, Serena. You can say that this was mostly due to their talent, which they were born with. But I know that a lot of the history that has been written, that will be written around these two sisters, is because of their dedication of their parents, to be specific, that father. They probably would have not played that great tennis, even with their talent, without their father being involved. Just for the record, I don't play tennis. I've never played it. I played squash. So, what does this story tell us? This story tells us that parents are an important influence on their children. The lessons they offer can change their lives of their children in both positive, but sometimes in negative ways. Obviously, for this particular family, what helped them quite a lot was the fact that their application, their push, their practice, their DNA did help them to become very good. But we also know that oftentimes our parenting options can also influence the choices that we make when we are brought up. And sometimes our journeys can not only be dictated by our childhood, but can also be dictated by the parents for whom we are children to. So, at this juncture, allow me to talk about my journey. Allow me to share a brief recollection of the life that I grew up in. I grew up in a family just after independence. My father used to work for the civil service. He was one of the people who learnt English. Would you believe that was a very good skill? He learned English quite earlier on, and because he was good at English and the local language, he was appointed an interpreter for the Muzungus. For those who do not know what Muzungu is, they were the colonial people who used to look after Uganda. So at independence, he takes total advantage because the Muzungus sort of realized that he must be a clever chap for having learnt English. And he joined the civil service, went to Nsamizi College, which was at the time training civil servants. And he became an assistant district commissioner. And his first posting was in Karamoja. So my initial thoughts, my initial surroundings was Karamoja. Now, there's one thing I'll never forget in my life with that, because every single time I didn't behave what my mother said, she would throw me out of the house, and I would look like the Karamojong. So what was the Karamojong at the time? They all walked around without anything on. So I really, really hated not having anything on, because I knew that would be a punishment. But growing up was also a time when my parents really had to make a lot of choices. And the choices they made included me going to primary school. Because I could not go to primary school in Karamoja, they decided that they needed to ship me off to a primary school very early on, by the way, P1, in Mugwanya Preparatory School and Kaboja Savio School, which, as you all know, was a strictly Catholic school. So I had a very strict Catholic upbringing. My education at Savio was absolutely very, very, very happy. Everything was about uniform. We were not allowed any clothes from home. We were not allowed any pocket money. We were not allowed grab, because they wanted everybody to be equal, to be the same. Inequality was what they preached. The key lesson for me earlier on was that you should be happy because you've got it. However, this meant that I did not have an opportunity to even deal with things like savings at that earlier time. But primary was such a good experience. Out of the blue, I do my P7, and I was